I ain't no suit-wearing businessman like you. I'm just a gangster, I suppose, and I want my corners. Everyone knows by that quote what show we are about to talk about. Today is the day we are going to talk about a show that changed the game. I had to bring in the squad to talk about it. The show that even still as time passes, seems to get better. It has aged like wine. The uncrowned king of crime dramas. A true piece of art. A masterclass in writing. The masterpiece known as The Wire. Today everyone talks about The Wire's greatness. But while it was airing back then, it didn't get this level of respect. It took years after it was over for people to start singing its praises. Maybe it finally caught fire with the mainstream because a sitting president of the United States shouted The Wire out. Then President Obama invited The Wire creator to the White House for a conversation because Obama was such a fan. The Wire and its characters will be covered many times on this channel. The Wire is too profound for just one video. This is a show that will be discussed and analyzed by everyone for years to come. The Wire tells the story of two Americas. The first America is the one that gets advertised, filled with hope that you will get to live the dream. Anything is possible if you just work hard, in that fantasy America. Then there is the real America, where greed and corruption run wild. Where people struggle every day just to survive. This is the America everyday people have to live in. It is filled with pain, hardship, and struggle. This America doesn't get talked about. The real America, in America where the game is always being played, and everyone knows in life, it's all in the game, right?
The king stays the king. This quote is still true to this day. The Wire is still the king. This show belongs in a museum. The Wire is not just your everyday good or even great television show. It is an experience. You just don't watch The Wire, you study it. The Wire breaks down and deconstructs so many things in everyday life. That is one of the reasons you can keep going back to it time after time. At first glance, you would think The Wire would be your typical crime show. You know, the typical cops are trying to take down a criminal or crime organization. Typical good guys versus the bad guys type of stuff. But that is not The Wire. In The Wire, you get to see both points of view. You get to see the thought process and tactics that both sides use to win the game. The thing is, when you see some of the tactics law enforcement uses, you will ask yourself who really are the criminals. The Wire asks the age-old question, does the end justify the means? How far is too far for the greater good? What about the everyday working man? How long and hard, does an honest person have to work before they get the American dream? The Wire will show you how a bad economy can make even normal people compromise their morals and principles. The Wire will ask the question, what is the real difference between a criminal and a businessman, lawyer, or politician? Can a person born and raised on the street ever really leave it? Can a person become a politician and not be corrupted? All these people are playing the game the best way they know how. But the thing that most don't realize is that the game is rigged for them to lose. The Wire gives you a look at some of the inner working of society. Like some characters at the top of law enforcement just see crimes as numbers and stats. They are emotionally and morally bankrupt. To them, no matter how serious the crime is, it is just a stat on their board that needs to get cleared, for a better grade from their bosses. Some in power will even turn serious crimes into lesser ones, just to make the stats look better. On the other side, The Wire will show you just how evil and ruthless the game can be. You have individuals who will betray, and even kill their friends and family without hesitation. Sometimes for petty reasons. Honor, love, and loyalty mean nothing at the end of the day to some of them.
You come at the king, you bet not miss. Yeah, it is a game of cat and mouse between the criminals and law enforcement. Both sides know the rules of this cat and mouse game. The top criminals are exceptional at playing this game and are often smarter than law enforcement. The problem is that law enforcement has almost unlimited resources, and more importantly, they can ignore, bend, or even change some of the rules of this game. Who grants law enforcement these abilities to cheat, you ask? They are judges, senators, city councils, the feds, mayors, politicians, and more. Even with all these forces against them, the criminals seem to stay 1 or 2 steps ahead. People who have grown up in a struggle learn to adapt very fast. They are already used to fighting at a disadvantage, so they are able to come up with some of the most creative tactics. Seeing some of the things these people of poverty come up with, helps you see just how intelligent they are. If they had been born in a better environment, they would be running Fortune 500 companies or something like that. I am not joking. These kingpins are some of the best managers around. The systems that some of these criminals put in place for their illegal operations are unbelievable. You have drug dealers talk to their employees about productivity and customer service. They even pay everyone weekly on Friday. Criminals run their operations better than the law enforcement trying to catch them. At the top is the kingpin, the CEO, after him their number 2 equals, COO, after him the lieutenants equals, the board, and then the corner chiefs equals, managers, and the hoppers workers. On the cops' side, there are only a handful of them who can match their criminal counterparts in strategy and wits.
The Wire didn't act like a typical cop show back then. It laid the framework for how future cop shows will be. Seeing the story and viewpoints told by both the cops and criminals was never done back then. When you see a character's true motive behind their actions will sometimes shock you. You can't believe that you are so wrong about this character. No character is completely what they seem to be. Most characters are trying to become something else, a better version of themselves. But the forces against them keep pulling them back to their old ways. The other area where The Wire separates itself from others is how The Wire handles each of its seasons. Every season covers a different problem in society. These problems cover the war on drugs, the everyday worker, corruption in a city, education, and the media. The Wire is so much more than a normal crime drama. The Wire reaches into places, issues, and topics about society that people knew were there, but never wanted to talk about or confront. The poor are the forgotten people of society. The Wire will show how society is set up to keep large groups of people in poverty, and despite what is said by those in power, the system has no real interest in trying to help the poor and struggling. So for these forgotten people, the only option is a life of crime. After all, they are just using the American way, by learning the art of capitalism.
Yeah, man, you get to see it is because of the way that society is set up is the reason so many living in poverty turn to crime. Even those more well-off can be forced to turn to crime in a bad economy. The Wire shows it just takes one speed bump in the road and can send one's life spiraling out of control. If you ever be just a little slow or a little late, it can be fatal. The game is rigged and the house will always win. You are just playing for time, trying to last as long as possible. The Wire makes it clear that even if you are beating the game right now, those in power with just keep breaking or changing the rules till you finally slip up and they win. This is a game that is not supposed to be beatable. Even if you make it to the end of the board, the game just resets with new pieces. New bosses, a new team of cops, new drug kingpins, new soldiers, and connects. The game is unforgiving. 1 minute, you can be on top of the world, with all the money, power, and respect you could ever dream of. The next minute you're locked in a cell for the rest of your life, with no friends or family left. Or you're an honest tax-paying citizen, who has been working the docks for years. Then a few years of a bad economy, you're left homeless on the street with only your dog to call a friend. The game didn't change, it just got more fierce.
You see criminals doing bad things for the right reasons, and then on the other side, you see cops doing good things for the wrong reasons. The old guard will fall while the new guard rises up and takes their place. The game is an endless cycle of betrayal, money, sex, and murder. Older players get removed from the board, and a fresh batch of new players is always ready to fill the empty spots. Hardened criminals learn that the business and political worlds is even more corrupt and ruthless than the streets. You have killers with shotguns and then there are killers with briefcases. They are the same type of people, they just use different weapons. The game itself is the greatest enemy. The game lets you believe that you can actually win. You will finally be the one to beat this unbeatable game. You're the player who has made it around the board multiple times, you avoid all traps. You keep collecting your 200 million, you own all the best property, nothing can stop you. Until you have that one horrible roll, which then you continue to have back-to-back bad rolls until you're stuck in jail, and your empire is destroyed. Pawns be out the game quick. Not if there's some smart-ass pawns.
Another way The Wire was groundbreaking was in a time when it wasn't as common or accepted to see LGBT characters. The Wire's most iconic character, Omar Little, was part of the LGBT community. Don't get it twisted, Omar don't scare. Omar is not just The Wire's most iconic character, he's one of the greatest characters to be created in fiction. If you had to make a case for any character being honorable, Omar is number one on the list. Hell, some would even call Omar the hero of the show.
The Legend of Omar. This is the character. The lone gunslinger rides into town and carries out justice. Entire books can be written on this character. The greatness of Omar is amazing. Every time this character is on screen, it usually is a classic moment.
Who are you telling about Omar? I bet if we look up the gun sales of the years The Wire was airing, shotguns are probably the #1 item sold. Omar is like the Grim Reaper of The Wire. Even the coldest and hardest gangsters fear him. His name is whispered in the street like a wrathful god.
Omar isn't the only great character, there are too many to list in this video. If we keep going, we will be here all night breaking down and analyzing all the characters. Who is your favorite character? Put it in the comments. And remember, every man must have a code. Please subscribe, and give a thumbs up if you like the video. It's back to the shadows, thanks for watching.